You didn't even notice it when it happened. That one morning, the day felt like any other, you dragged yourself out of bed. Not because you were lazy, not because you stayed up late binge-watching nonsense, but because your body felt off, slower, heavier, like someone replaced your blood with sand. You got dressed, made coffee, checked your phone, nothing unusual. But deep down, something had changed. You weren't tired, you were drained. And there's a difference. Tired means you worked hard. Drained means your soul is waving a white flag. You feel it in your bones, not just physically, but emotionally. Like you're living on 20% battery and pretending it's fine. And still, you pushed through. Because that's what people like you do, right? You keep showing up. You meet deadlines. You smile at people. You reply, "I'm good," even when your insides are screaming, "I'm not okay." But here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. Fatigue isn't always caused by what you do. Sometimes it's caused by what you tolerate. That includes the people, the noise, the fakeness, the pressure to pretend, the little betrayals you ignore daily just to keep the peace. You are not lazy, you are not weak, you're just carrying more than anyone sees, and nobody tells you how soul-taxing that becomes. Let me tell you a story. A woman I knew, let's call her Tara, used to be the kind of person who lit up a room when she walked in. Energy, ideas, laughter. It radiated from her. Until it didn't. She started waking up exhausted, even after 8 hours of sleep. She blamed it on work, then on hormones, then on the weather. But deep down, she knew. Something invisible was eating away at her energy. Turns out it wasn't just life. It was her relationships, her job, the expectations she never agreed to, but followed anyway. She was exhausted not from overwork, but from misalignment. Here's the first hidden reason for your fatigue. You are living a life that isn't fully yours. You're showing up in roles that don't fit. Saying yes to people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Ignoring the quiet voice inside that whispers, "This isn't right." And the longer you do it, the more drained you feel. Tara didn't need more coffee. She didn't need a supplement. She needed her life back. It took her a full year to recalibrate. To quit the job that was bleeding her soul. To have hard conversations. To finally choose her peace over her people-pleasing. And when she did, the energy returned like a flood. Because you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. And neither can you. Look at your life for a second. Really look. Where are you pretending to be okay? Where are you forcing yourself to fit in places that kill your spirit? Where are you ignoring the inner scream that says, "This isn't me"? Fatigue is often your body screaming what your mouth won't say, and if you're honest, you've known it for a while now. This isn't just about rest, it's about realignment. You weren't born to live on autopilot. You weren't meant to pour yourself out just to be liked. You're not crazy for feeling like this. You're just waking up. And now, you have a choice. Keep faking it. Or finally face the truth. The day you stopped feeling like yourself wasn't random. It was a signal, a whisper. And maybe it's time to stop hitting snooze. You don't have to run a marathon to be exhausted. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one text that hits you wrong, one memory that crawls back into your chest without permission. Emotional fatigue is just as real and often heavier than physical exhaustion. But no one taught you that. No one told you that carrying unresolved pain, silently, privately, stoically, would rot your energy from the inside out. You show up to work like nothing's wrong. You laugh with your friends. You answer your mom's call. You pay your bills. You keep going. But there's a storm beneath the smile. Let me tell you something raw. A guy I used to know, let's call him David, was the kind of man everyone depended on. Solid, calm, reliable, a rock for others. But inside, he was crumbling. He had gone through a breakup 2 years earlier. On the outside, he'd moved on, changed jobs, started working out. But on the inside, he was still carrying the weight of what he never said. The guilt, the confusion, the questions with no answers, the pain of being misunderstood, and pretending it didn't bother him. Every time he saw a photo of her online, something inside him twisted. Not because he wanted her back, but because he never processed the loss. He tried everything: books, podcasts, cold showers, new goals. But nothing truly helped. He kept saying, "I just feel so tired lately." But it wasn't his body that was tired, it was his heart. And here's the second hidden reason for your fatigue. You are carrying emotional weight you never gave yourself permission to feel, let alone release. Pain you minimized. Betrayals you rationalized. Moments you brushed off because you didn't have time to fall apart. But the body remembers. You might forget what happened in your mind, but your nervous system doesn't. And it's screaming for peace in the only language it knows: fatigue. This is what nobody wants to admit. You can drink green juice, hit the gym, take supplements, journal every morning, and still feel exhausted. If you never learn how to let pain go through you instead of around you. Sometimes healing isn't doing more. It's finally stopping, sitting still with the ache, letting yourself grieve what you didn't get, letting go of the apology you'll never receive. You're not weak for feeling deeply. You're not dramatic. You're human. But we've all been tricked, taught to suck it up, to move on, to stay strong, even when that strength is killing us quietly. Let me ask you something real. What's the one thing you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel? The person you never forgave? Maybe even yourself? The situation you swore didn't bother you, but your energy has never been the same since? You don't have to relive it forever. You just have to stop pretending it never mattered. Because denied pain becomes stored fatigue. And that hidden exhaustion? It's not just about what happened. It's about the truth you've been too scared to admit. That hurt me more than I let on. You want more energy? Start by giving your heart space to finally speak. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your health is cry. Let go. Feel the damn thing, then breathe. That's not weakness, that's release. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you sat in silence? No phone, no music, no scrolling. And just listen to your own thoughts. No distractions, no artificial noise. Just you. If the thought alone makes you anxious, you're not alone. You've been conditioned to drown yourself in noise. It's everywhere, and constant. Notifications, news, group chats, advertisements, algorithms, endless input, zero space. You wake up, check your phone, scroll while eating, watch something while working, fall asleep to background noise, then repeat. And we wonder why we feel empty. Why we feel tired, why the fire inside feels like it's dying out. Here's the third hidden reason for your fatigue. You are overstimulated and underconnected, especially to yourself. You don't need more hustle, you need more stillness. But stillness is terrifying when you've been trained to avoid it. Let me tell you a story. There was this woman. Name doesn't matter, but her story does. She worked in marketing, fast-paced, constantly plugged in. On paper, she had everything: income, status, goals, a circle of friends. But every night the same thing happened. She'd come home and feel hollow, not sad, not depressed, just flat, like a balloon slowly deflating. So she'd scroll, watch a video, order food, anything to fill the quiet. One weekend, she tried something radical. She turned off her phone for 24 hours. No notifications, no texts, no music, just her in silence. By hour 4, she broke down crying, not because she was in pain, but because she finally heard herself for the first time in years. She realized how much she had been avoiding, her dreams, her grief, her truth. She wasn't just tired, she was disconnected, from her own voice, from her spirit. And that was the real source of her exhaustion. Let's be real. Most people today are not tired from doing too much. They're tired from being constantly stimulated by nothing meaningful. We think we're resting when we're scrolling. We think we're relaxing when we're watching back-to-back content. We think we're connected because we're reachable 24/7. But all of it is noise. All of it steals space. And space is where your energy lives. You need white space in your day, not just to rest, but to reconnect, to hear yourself think, to figure out what you actually believe, want, feel, to be alone without being lonely. But most people are afraid of that, because when the noise stops, the truth speaks. And the truth? It doesn't yell, it whispers. So if you're feeling drained, ask yourself, is your life too loud to hear what really matters? You may not need more sleep. You may need more silence. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of everything you've been avoiding. And energy? It doesn't just come from resting the body, it comes from returning to yourself. You are not a machine. You're not supposed to consume nonstop. You're not supposed to be available 24/7. You're supposed to feel, to think, to breathe, to live fully present in your own mind. Let's stop pretending for a second. You know that version of yourself you present to the world? The one that always smiles, always agrees, always responds with, "I'm fine"? That's not the real you. That's the performer. And keeping up that performance is killing you slowly. Here's the fourth hidden reason for your fatigue. You are chronically exhausted because you're living a version of life meant to impress others, not fulfill you. And no, this isn't about being fake. You're not fake. You're conditioned. From the moment you were a kid, you were trained to do what got approval. Good grades equals praise. Quiet compliance equals love. Achievements equals worth. You learned fast. If I want to be accepted, I have to perform. Be the good son, the responsible daughter, the loyal partner, the high achiever, the always there friend. So that's what you became. But deep down, behind the smiles and surface level wins, you don't feel alive. You feel like you're playing a role you never actually auditioned for. Let me tell you a story you might recognize. There's this guy, mid-30s, corporate job, married, 2 kids, good man. Does everything right. Pays the bills, posts the family photos, keeps it together. But every night, after the kids go to bed, he sits in the dark, silent, burned out, empty. Not because he's ungrateful, not because he doesn't love his family, but because he built a life based on what was expected of him, not what resonated with him. He wanted to write, create, be free. But instead, he became what everyone needed him to be. And the weight of that expectation? It's like a slow bleed he can't patch up. That man isn't rare. He's everywhere. She's everywhere. You might be living this too. And you won't find this type of fatigue in any medical book. But it's real. It's the slow, soul-deep exhaustion of constantly being on when your spirit is screaming off. Here's what they don't tell you. Performing is energy draining, even if it gets you claps. You're performing when you say yes while your body says no. When you show up to the party you don't want to be at. When you stay in a job that suffocates you just to maintain a lifestyle you don't even like. That exhaustion you feel? It's the cost of living inauthentically, even if just a little bit. But here's the twist. Nobody's forcing you to do it anymore. You've internalized the role so well that you're now directing your own misery and blaming life for it. You don't need more energy hacks. You need permission to change. And no, It won't be easy. It might cost you people, habits, even income. But ask yourself this: is the life you're protecting worth the version of yourself it's killing? You can't keep performing and expect to feel free. You can't keep shape-shifting and expect to feel whole. You can't keep faking your way through life and wonder why you feel so damn tired all the time. Fatigue is often the symptom of a soul suffocating in silence. So maybe the question isn't, how do I get more energy? Maybe the real question is, what parts of myself do I need to stop betraying? Here's the truth most people will never say out loud. You're not just tired. You're spiritually empty. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm not asking you to believe in God, pray, or light incense. I'm talking about your soul, that deep, silent, invisible part of you that no one sees, but feels everything. That part of you? It's not asleep, it's starving. And we've built a culture that pretends it doesn't matter. We feed our minds with information. We feed our bodies with food and workouts. But our souls? We starve them with distraction, shallow validation, and empty achievement. And then we wonder why we feel so lost, so numb, so fatigued, no matter how much we sleep. Let me tell you something real. There was a woman I met once, strong, smart, beautiful. She had every self-help book you could imagine. Her routines were perfect. She meditated, she journaled, she hit the gym, she drank her greens. But she still cried herself to sleep, secretly. Not because she was broken, but because she didn't know who she was anymore. And one night, she said something I'll never forget. I've optimized everything in my life, except the part that actually makes life worth living. She meant connection. She meant depth. She meant purpose. Because if we're being honest, most of us are surviving, not living. We work, we grind, we perform, and we go to bed exhausted, wondering what the hell is wrong with us. Here's the truth. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just living in a world that's constantly feeding your mind, but starving your soul. And here's the bold, controversial truth I promised you. You can't fix soul-deep fatigue with surface-level solutions. You don't need another productivity hack. You don't need better coffee. You don't need a new morning routine. What you need is to wake up. Wake up to the fact that you've been outsourcing your worth, that you've been measuring your value in likes, dollars, deadlines, or other people's opinions. And it's exhausting you. Because you weren't meant to live like this. You weren't meant to be constantly on, to always compare, to endlessly chase more. You were meant to feel, to connect, to grow, to belong to something deeper than the algorithm. But nobody teaches you how to feed your spirit. Nobody tells you that peace, energy, and clarity don't come from achieving more. They come from coming home to yourself. So now I'm asking you, what are you truly hungry for? Not just in your career, not just in your body, but in your soul. Is it time in nature? Is it deep, raw friendships? Is it creating something that matters? Is it space to just breathe and be human again? You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not enough. You are just disconnected from the part of you that makes life feel alive. If this spoke to something real in you, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below, even just a sentence. Tell me what hit you the hardest. Tell me what you think the real cause of your fatigue is. And I'll be reading every single one. Because this isn't just a video, it's a conversation we should have been having years ago. You deserve a life that doesn't feel like survival. You deserve energy that isn't borrowed. You deserve to stop chasing fixes and start coming back to yourself. This is your wake-up call. What you do with it is entirely up to you.